we were together last month in Seattle when we heard about Charlie Kirk's assassination. I was pretty shaken up by it. I want to see if you'll share any of your thoughts on that and perhaps your thoughts about how others responded as well.
There's so much is wrong with them. I mean, first, it's just a terrible tragedy for the family and friends of Charlie Kirk, and I mean, it's just awful in every respect there. And my immediate reaction to it was just to be purely horrified by it. I mean, just on that personal level. Additionally, it's horrible for other reasons that affect a much wider set of people and concerns. I mean, so the thing that's horrible about a political assassination is that it's happening, is especially in this case, it's happening in an environment where we are just combustible as a society, right? I mean, the level of trust in institutions is so low. It's so much lower than it has been, really, at least in modern memory. A political assassination is just much more dangerous now. I mean, there's just so much dry tinder. It's like when JFK was assassinated or MLK. Those assassinations happened in a context where there was massive trust in the media and in government generally. And I mean, it's just, that trust eroded obviously during the Vietnam War and after Watergate, but it has eroded much further still, right? So it's I think when JFK was shot, the percentage of Americans who would say that the government usually can be trusted to do the right thing, or that the media can be trusted to report facts accurately, that was up around 75%. And then it fell, precipitously through Vietnam and Watergate, and got to around, I think, 33%. Now it's down to 22%, right? I mean, now we're looking for the floor here, and I think maybe even that exaggerates the level of trust given in the context of social media. So what you had here is that within 5 minutes, you had people on the right saying the most irresponsible things. That just heaping more gasoline onto this fire. You had Elon jump on X. I mean, before anything was known, right? Before it was even clear that Charlie Kirk was dead, right? I think that's true to say. I don't think he'd been pronounced dead yet, and certainly the shooter had not been identified. You had Elon get on X in front of 225 million people and say that the left is the party of murder, right? And then he followed up with something like, if they won't leave us in peace, there's nothing to do but fight or die, right? And you might pause a moment and wonder who they are in that construction. But so many people on the right with enormous platforms, and many people in the government, right? I mean, I'm talking about Trump's message to the nation that night when after Charlie Kirk was pronounced dead, um, clearly wanted to uh, leave the impression that one, the problem of political violence was only coming from the left. Really, that was really where the danger lies. That, of course, is not true. It's coming from both sides, and arguably, it's remains a greater danger on the right. But at a minimum, it's a story of both sides. But two, they wanted to perceive this as the kind of first shot fired in a civil war, right? I mean, they were using it. Again, this went to Trump. This went to Pam Bondi, Kash Patel, the various influencers, people like Tucker Carlson, and half the people who spoke at the Kirk Memorial. I mean, people with vast platforms. They spun this as not just a far fringe of lunatics to worry about on the left, but really the mainstream opponents of Trump and Trumpism were culpable for murder, right? And that the power of the state now has to be used against them. I mean, that was more or less the tone that was taken, and the import explicitly of what was said. And that's just dangerous and terrifying. And it's true that on the left there were a lot of dummies with nose rings, jumping online saying that they were happy that Kirk got killed. But those people didn't represent the Democratic Party, right? I mean, so the people who really stand for the kind of the center of the moral gravity of the Democratic Party, to a man and woman, said this is horrific. Where this should never happen. Nothing warrants this, and thoughts and prayers to the Kirk family. That's the tone that people like uh, Barack Obama and everyone on down took. On the right, the people were not nearly that responsible, and so what you had is a lot of arsonists pretending to be firefighters on the right, and it's very, very dangerous. And it was from the president on down. I mean, his announcement to the nation on I think the night that of the assassination was totally irresponsible, right?
Yeah.
It was disgraceful.
Well, we know what Elon meant when he said they, and all the rest of them that were using the term they. They meant those on the left. But the question is, you see, as you said, Obama, Ezra Klein, I thought was great. He got a lot of shit for what he said.
Well, it's not great. I mean, he wasn't great. I mean, to some degree, I don't know how much. Well, actually, you can blame him for the title because, I mean, the headline actually was a phrase that existed in the article itself when he said that Charlie Kirk was practicing politics the right way. I mean, I think that was the title, and he says that in the piece. So it wasn't just an editor who slapped that title on. So he got a lot of shit for that because, I mean, Charlie Kirk was, yes, narrowly construed, he was practicing politics the right way in the sense that he was just talking, right? He would go to a campus and debate people, and so that's a totally civil thing to do. But of course, his brand of politics is very easy to criticize and worth criticizing. I mean, what's happened in the aftermath of his death, and has happened immediately, was that everyone, both on the right and the left, kind of sane washed him as a political figure, pretending that he was just this champion of free speech. He was, a champion of free speech, but what he was freely speaking about for those years, much of it was quite divisive and dangerous and false. Right? I mean, he was all in on the 2020 election big lie that the election was stolen conspiracy theory. He was all in on that. At one point, I don't know where he said this, on his podcast or someone else's podcast. He said that Joe Biden should spend the rest of his life in prison or be put to death. Right? I mean, he had ideas that are very hard to defend, and the danger of them being believed by millions of people is obvious. Um, so he's not. I don't consider him to have been a political ally in any sense, or really a sane actor. But obviously, his assassination was evil, and anyone celebrating it is, I mean, this is what was so wrong about Elon's claim on Twitter. There is no party of murder in the US, right? I mean, the kid who killed Kirk.
Well, the kid and Mossad.
Yeah,
Right.
exactly. This
Yeah.
goes back to
Okay.
the fragmentation of our and loss of trust in institutions, right? Within 5 minutes, you had Candace Owens saying that there's a trap door there, and I'm just asking questions about maybe he was shot from below or behind, or what the bullet wasn't recovered. Maybe I mean, and then the virtual certainty expressed by all the anti-Semites, that the Mossad did it, or that Israel generally did it, except strangely, Nick Fuentes doesn't believe that, right? So he went after all the anti-Semites.
That clip was so great.
Yeah, but then he's getting reviled as not being sufficiently clear-eyed and committed to the cause. Now he's gone soft by the people who really hate Jews the right way. Uh, but so this craziness, erupted on all sides of this moment. This is one of the most witnessed events in human history now, and yet we can't even be sure what happened, according to some of the most prominent people, right of center. That's what's so crazy about it. But to get back to Elon for a second, the his tweet was wrong because Tyler Robinson doesn't represent any real political movement or set of policies, or I mean, it's certainly nothing that's going to be activated by the Democratic Party in 2026 or 2028, right? This is the real opponents of Trump and Trumpism are not expressing their voice in a political assassination. In fact, the real opponents, the people with real, audiences and influence and roles in the government, express nothing but horror over this. And again, it's not mirrored on the right by the same kind of caution and civility and responsibility. Because on the right, you've had prominent people tell a lot of jokes around political assassinations and political violence. I mean, you had all these people, including Charlie Kirk, told jokes when uh, Nancy Pelosi's husband was nearly killed by in a hammer attack. Right? I mean, that was a punchline for Elon, for Trump, for Kirk, for all of them. It was totally irresponsible and obscene for it to be so, but it was. So these are not. It is on this problem is on both sides, but it's not equally on both sides in the sense that the upper echelons of influence and power reflect this derangement equally. They simply don't.
Well, that's why I just want to go back to Ezra Klein and defend him for a second. I understand what he said. In some of those specifics may not have been right when he said he was doing it the right way. But I think Ezra sees that we're in a bad place, and I think he's worried about it, and I think he's trying, especially at that time, he was trying to give the country a hug and say, "Look, there's a lot more we agree about, and yeah, we're not a country that shoots people."
That was the point. The only point to have made. I mean, so I'm talking in a way now that I don't think I would have the day of or the week after. I mean, this is kind of a different moment. And the memorial happened, and that gave a different look at our circumstance. I mean, the memorial was alarming in certain ways. Maybe we can talk about that. But no, so I think Ezra's piece. It's understandable that he was disposed to bend over backwards to not say anything critical about Kirk in expressing his condemnation of political violence. I mean, that's fine. It's not the whole story, however, right? And it's easy to see how people who really didn't want to mince words got pissed off at the slant of that article because,
No, I get it. I just think in that moment he needed to say something, and he decided to
yeah,
just hit the hug moment first, bring people together, and
yeah.
then say, "Look, I got shit to say about Charlie. I'll get to that later."
But again, what's dangerous and difficult around just that hug moment is that it is a what was happening right of center was totally unhinged. I mean, this became the right's version of the George Floyd moment. Right? I mean, this is so Kirk immediately became a Christian martyr, and nothing critical could be said about him. That may still be true right of center, and the reaction was this was a sign of that the left is the party of murder, right? And they're coming for us. We've got an army of trans activists with high powered rifles aimed at us, and they're gonna just come kill us unless we recognize that we're in a civil war where now the federal government is gonna turn down the screws on all these organizations that funded this assassination, right? Who funded it, right? I mean, that's the talk. It's completely insane.
But you don't see that as more of an argument for why Ezra did that, to say, "Wait a second, I'm one of the most prominent voices on the left, and that's not, we're actually human beings too. That's not the way we think. I want to start with being horrified by this moment."
It is
And
fine. I'd have to go back and look at the article to
yeah,
see what else might have been wrong with that. I mean, the thing that was obviously wrong with it that people seized on was that he was doing politics the right way can be construed very, very narrowly or more broadly. If you do it very narrowly, like he was talking rather than punching people in the face, okay, he was doing politics the right way. But the moment you wander off of that narrow piece of praise and you actually look at what his politics was, it was just, theocratic bullshit, right? And a divisive theocratic bullshit. I mean, it's very hard to defend his actual politics. I mean, so a lot of Jews and supporters of Israel were very happy with Kirk for being an unabashed supporter of Israel, even when he was getting some pushback from the America First uh, wing of his party and the anti-Semitic wing of his party. And it's true that he seemed to have been a great supporter of Israel. But when you asked him why he was a supporter of Israel, it was purely on the basis of biblical prophecy. Right? He's waiting for Jesus to come back and hurl all the Jews into a lake of fire, except for a remnant of 144,000, right? It's been a while since I've read Revelation. I have to go back and look at the details. But I mean, this is the worldview, right? This is not a sane political voice that anyone should be eager that Ezra Klein should be eager to endorse as this is politics the right way. And so that's why he got so much shit as a result of that.
I understood. I took it. I understand that interpretation, and it's wrong. But I think he meant it when he said politics the right way. That he went out to meet
Yes,
his,
debate his opponents,
yeah,
etc.
where they were,
Of
and to
course.
bring it. That's what he meant. So,
Yeah.
all right.
Okay.